In a world where Christian music often stayed in one lane, Forrest Frank looked at Christian music and saw a massive gap missing. For decades, the Christian music industry operated on an unspoken rule where worship songs would be the standard and everything else would be seen as secular. That was the bridge between two worlds that would never mix. But in 2023, a former indie pop star named Forrest Frank walked into this divided landscape with a bold idea. His solution was revolutionary in its simplicity, and his results would shatter every assumption about what Christian music could be. This is the story of how Forrest Frank didn't just make music, but redefined an entire genre. Forrest's journey began long before he became a Christian music sensation. Growing up in Texas, he was surrounded by music. His mother led worship at their local church, and his grandmother wrote children's music. But after finding mainstream success with his indie pop duo Surfaces, particularly with their platinum hit Sunday Best, Forrest experienced a spiritual awakening that changed everything.
And a girl came up to me in church, and she was like, "Hey, I had a dream of, I don't know you."
Right.
She was from a different city, and I might have told you the story before, but she was like, "Hey, God gave me a dream about someone named Forrest Frank, and these people are saying your name's Forrest Frank. So can I share this dream with you?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And there's all these intricacies with it, and a lot of it was this prophetic thing about, "Hey, I think you're supposed to do Christian music, and you're gonna like change the game," basically.
Wow.
This is before I ever did any Christian music.
Oh my gosh.
Which is crazy.
Following a profound encounter at a church service, he realized his calling wasn't just to make music, but was to create a bridge between the music he loved to create and the faith he embraced. When he made the decision to leave Surfaces and pursue Christian music full-time, industry insiders were confused. Why would someone leave mainstream success for a genre with such limited reach? But Forrest saw something on the other side that wasn't just profit numbers, but something greater.
I didn't know there was anything on the other side.
Yeah.
But looking back with my new eyes, I think I was saying like, there's a greater plan for my life.
Yeah.
It's not success. It's just honesty, maybe.
Dang.
And so I felt like maybe there was a little bit of dishonesty. Like I was making secular music, but I was trying to include God.
Uh-huh.
I think maybe Jesus was saying like, no, I want the whole thing.
About me.
And it didn't look like I want the whole thing with all the success. I just want the whole thing right here in the present.
Yeah.
His first major Christian release, No Longer Bound, featuring Hulvey in 2023, immediately signaled that something different was happening. The track combined hip-hop production with worship lyrics. It wasn't meant to sound like church music, but was meant to sound like cool music that happened to be about faith. And the response would later prove that, as No Longer Bound shot to the top of Spotify's viral playlist, introducing Forrest to millions of listeners who had never connected with traditional Christian music. Young people were finally hearing faith-based songs that sounded like the music they already loved. But it wasn't until Your Way's Better, released earlier this year, that truly proved Forrest's approach could work on a massive scale. Released as part of his Child of God 2 album, the song spawned a viral TikTok dance that reached millions of people across the world. Suddenly, people of all backgrounds were learning the dance to a song that worshipped God and was also a banger at the same time. The track eventually peaked at number 61 on the Billboard Hot 100, making it one of only a handful of Christian songs to achieve mainstream chart success in recent years. More importantly, it proved that Christian music could be integrated with hip-hop elements. And while it feels like what Forrest is doing is revolutionary, he wasn't actually the first Christian artist to bring secular genres into faith-based music. Decades earlier, bands like Skillet had pioneered the integration of hard rock and metal into Christian music, proving that heavy guitars and spiritual lyrics could coexist together. Their success in both Christian and mainstream rock circles showed that genre blending could work when done authentically. Similarly, artists like TobyMac had spent years incorporating hip-hop elements into Christian music, while bands like Switchfoot had created rock music that appealed to both Christian and secular audiences. These pioneers had laid groundwork that made Forrest's success possible, proving that Christian music didn't have to sound like traditional worship to be spiritually meaningful. What made Forrest's approach different wasn't that he was the first to blend genres together, but it was how he combined attractive music with a completely new way of connecting with people. He used TikTok to create viral videos that reached millions of young people, went on podcasts, and on Instagram to share personal stories about his struggles and journey with God, brought fans on stage during concerts, and put their names on his album cover. He took what other artists had started with mixing musical styles and built an entirely new playbook for connecting with people through faith. While traditional Christian artists treated social media media as an afterthought, Forrest embraced platforms like TikTok and Instagram as opportunities to connect on a more deeper level with his fans. Forrest would go on these platforms and share behind-the-scenes moments from his life, answer questions from his fans, and create content that felt authentic and relatable. When fans created dance videos to his songs, he didn't just ignore them, but learned the choreography himself and participated in the trend. His comment sections created a supportive atmosphere where young people felt comfortable asking questions and encouraging one another in their faith. And in July 2025, Forrest's career and faith were put to the ultimate test when a skateboarding accident left him with multiple spinal fractures that nearly ended his career. Instead of taking this time to stay at home, relax, and keep away from the spotlight while he recovered from his injury, Forrest would go on to do something that not only produced some of his best songs, but showcased his vulnerability and authenticity as someone who is just like one of us on their journey with the Lord. God's Got My Back, written and recorded just days after the accident using only his laptop, became Atlantic Music Group's top US streaming debut. The vulnerability was unprecedented. This wasn't a planned song that was meant to be written, but a showcase of how God can use our toughest moments and turn them into our greatest accomplishments. The authenticity and realness Forrest showed in God's Got My Back connected deeply with his audience, and showed that Forrest isn't just an artist, but a human as well, who goes through human experiences just like us. And by showing this realness in his songs, it connected with his fans who were facing their own struggles as well. And when Forrest announced just 2 weeks later that X-rays showed complete healing with no remaining fractures, it would go on to amplify Forrest's music even more. Now, whether you viewed it as a miraculous healing from God or just a standard recovery, the incident demonstrated how Forrest's willingness to share his most personal experiences created connections with his fans that traditional Christian artists rarely achieved. However, just weeks after Frank shared his healing story, established Christian artists began poking fun at the situation. Cory Asbury, a well-known Christian artist behind the song Reckless Love, decided to create a parody vasectomy song poking fun at Frank's recovery process. And while for many artists it would have been easier to throw negativity back at those poking fun, Forrest decided on a different approach. He wrote a song called Misunderstood and publicly invited his critics to collaborate with him. The gesture was both vulnerable and challenging. Instead of attacking those who had hurt him, he offered partnership. Cory Asbury, the writer of Reckless Love, who had created one of the parody videos, responded with a public apology and accepted the collaboration invitation. Their reconciliation became its own viral moment, demonstrating Christian principles of forgiveness, playing out in real time on social media. The incident revealed another way Forrest differed from typical Christian artists: his willingness to address conflict with grace rather than avoiding it altogether. He showed that authentic faith could handle criticism and controversy without compromising its core message. By 2025, the results of Forrest's approach were undeniable. His monthly YouTube music listener count had surpassed that of Drake, making him one of the most listened to artists on the platform. His albums consistently topped Christian charts, while also achieving mainstream success. Child of God became the best-selling Christian album of 2024, and its sequel reached number 12 on the Billboard 200. But the numbers only told part of the story. Churches across denominations were playing his music in services. Secular radio stations were adding his tracks to mainstream playlists. Young people who had never engaged with Christian music were discovering faith through his songs. Most significantly, Forrest had proven that the supposed choice between spiritual authenticity and cultural relevance was a false dilemma. His unwavering commitment to his faith hadn't limited his reach. It had expanded it exponentially. What made Forrest Frank different wasn't any single element of his approach. It was how all these pieces worked together to create something unprecedented in Christian music. His genre-blending sound made faith-based music accessible to broader audiences. His social media savvy brought ministry into digital spaces where young people actually lived. His authentic fan interactions made Christianity feel relatable rather than distant. But perhaps most importantly, Forrest had demonstrated that Christian artists could engage fully with contemporary culture without compromising their spiritual message. He proved that cool Christian music wasn't a contradiction. It was a necessity for reaching a generation that had been largely overlooked by traditional religious media.